going on, Fourth and Inches podcast listeners? You got Dan, Kevin, Stevie P coming at you once again. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, listeners? What's going on, Kevin?
What's up, guys?
Kevin, Dan?
What's up? Another good night.
Yeah. All right, so we are going to continue these divisional breakdowns. We are going to get into the AFC East today. But first, if you're listening, remember, check out that website. It's www.fourthandinchesff.com. It's www.4THNINCHESFF.com. You get a bunch of content, articles, blogs, player profiles. You can subscribe to the draft guide, which contains the decision maker, which is a tiered out guideline of 3 different drafting styles. If you want to be a little more risky or conservative or somewhere in the middle, we have it all for you. And check out the cheat codes. The cheat codes are a visual breakdown of every team's stats from last year. Anything that's going to help you make decisions in your fantasy drafts. Them cheat codes are a great tool for it. So make sure you subscribe to that. And if you're listening, hit the subscribe button. Give us a 5-star rating. So with that being said, let's go into our first team from the division, the Buffalo Bills. So when doing the notes for this division, I was going down, or this team, I'm sorry, I was going down and I was wondering to myself, is the Bills defense going to be the first pick of all of these players? They really have nobody on this team. And what we're hearing about LaShawn McCoy right now, guy from CBS, an analyst from CBS said he's done. They should just cut bait with him now. That would obviously probably rise Frank Gore and Devin Singletary up the ranks, up the draft boards a little bit. So going into this, let's start off with Shady. Right now he has an ADP of, let's see here, I believe it's in the eighth round, pick number 10. Do you guys think he's worth taking a shot on him at that value?
It's kind of hard to say yes to that, especially after what you just said. The analysts are saying that he's done. This is the thing. Shady looked done last year. You know what I mean? I watched a lot of the Bills games because I'm a Bills fan, and to me, he didn't have the explosion that he normally has. You know what I mean? Like even 2 years ago when you were watching him play, he would juke a guy out of his shoes and hit a hole and make a play. And last year, I didn't really see any of that. And I know the offensive line was bad, and that's it is what it is. The offensive line was bad, and I know it's hard for a running back, but it seemed to me like he was having a lot of trouble hitting holes. And even when the holes were there, he was having trouble hitting holes. I don't know what the scenario would be for a running back that was as talented as McCoy has been over the past, 8 years. 8, 9 years. He's been one of the best running backs in football. But last year, he didn't look good. He looked terrible. And, a lot of guys, even on, I'm on Bills Mafia on Facebook, and, we would all argue about, that was one of the biggest arguments of all of us last year. There was team fuck Shady, and then there was team we love Shady, leave him alone. You know what I mean? There was no really in between. It was either everybody wanted him to keep him, or he was just a complete shit player and let's get this guy gone. So, I feel that's how I felt. I felt like, he wasn't contributing anything to the team that, any of the other running backs couldn't have done the same.
Shady has put up some great numbers over his career, but I just think that the tires need to be changed. He's hit his max amount of miles. He's been a 3-down back for, like we said, 8, 9, 10 years, however many it is. I don't think it's quite 10, but he's been super productive for a long time now. And I think that I think last year he hit that ending, and maybe he's just trying to drag out one more year, see if he has anything left in the tank. But what do you guys think about, is there anybody on the Bills worth handcuffing? Because there's a good chance that Shady's probably not going to finish the year out as the starter. So is there anybody worth handcuffing if you do pick Shady? Do the Bills have a good enough offensive line to acquire a handcuff on Buffalo?
I definitely think that Devin Singletary has the ability to be a stud running back in the NFL. If you watch him, and looking at his video, looking at his tape, if you listen or remember what Mel Kiper said when they drafted him, he basically said they got Shady McCoy 2.0. If you watch his videos, he has those cuts, like that first cut he makes right at the line, boom, one cut and go. And I mean, looking at it, I think he has a ton of talent. He's definitely a flyer to take later in the draft. Right now, Devin Singletary, I'm pretty sure, is going right around 13, somewhere around there. I guess it's round 12, pick 1. Like he's a great flyer to take later in the draft because I don't necessarily think he's going to come right in and be their starter. I think they might use Frank Gore a little bit off the rip. And that's if Shady gets cut or,
That's just old and older, dude. That's like, I mean, you ain't upgrading the position with
what Bills were doing with their running back situation. Like, to have a 31-year-old Shady McCoy and go out and sign, like, what is he, a 35-year-old Frank Gore, 36-year-old Frank Gore? Like, I mean, you drafted the run, you got the young guy that's waiting in the wings. Why not just ride Shady for 8 games until he gets hurt? He gets hurt every year. Shady just, for some reason, he doesn't prepare. I don't think he prepares correctly. He just always has soft tissue injuries. It's always hamstrings or groins or stuff. Just, the type of shit that makes you think like he's just getting to the locker room a half hour later than everybody and not getting stretched out properly. Like that's the type of shit I could see with Shady. And like I said, I mean, you want to take a shot on him in the 8th round, like usually the way I wind up drafting Shady is when I draft wide receivers early, because you get an 8th round starting running back, and then you could probably grab his handcuff in the 12th round, just, to have that Buffalo Bills backfield. But yeah, that's really the only time I really wind up with Shady. In a lot of cases, I don't even wind up with him then. But, at this point, Shady's almost undraftable.
Yeah, well, from the question you asked him about the offensive line, yes, the offensive line is much better than it was last year. You have Mitch Morris coming in from the Kansas City Chiefs, who was, if you watch the Kansas City Chiefs, a lot of their, Kareem Hunt big games was with Mitch Morris in the game. Mitch Morris missed 5 games last year due to injury. And you could immediately tell that the run game got, slowed up a little bit with him not on the field. So, he's a dominant, he got a lot of money. He's a dominant center in the league. He's definitely a top 10 guy at that position. Deion Dawkins, he's nothing special, but, he was a sophomore last year. He was in his sophomore season. He's developing. He's getting better. You have Cody Ford, who they drafted in the 1st or 2nd round this year, and Cody Ford was, if you watched his college tape at Alabama, he was very, very good. So, there's definitely potential with this offensive line. This offensive line could be very good. And I said Alabama, I meant Oklahoma, but Cody Ford, it was a dominant college player, and he's got the thing I like about him, he's nasty. He's a guy that he wants to pancake you. He wants to get you on the ground, and he's 340 some pounds, and he's going to land on you like a damn ton of bricks, because he that's the way he plays, and I like guys like that. So, I definitely think he is, and he's listed here at 6'3", 330, and yeah, he looks much bigger than that. He looks definitely in the, almost 350 range. The dude is huge. But, it's definitely an offensive line that I think is going to be very much improved. And that's the other thing with Josh Allen, and that's the thing last year with Shady that you have to remember. Okay, so everybody knows a running back's best friend is a running quarterback, because when you have the threat of the running quarterback, it opens up holes, because, and the Bills did that last year. If you watch their offensive play, they did a lot of misdirection runs where they would fake it to Shady and let, Allen take off. So, and Shady still wasn't hitting holes. So to me, like Kev said, he I wouldn't say he's undraftable because, I don't know, maybe if they do release him or trade him, he might be okay on another team and be a little bit productive. But he's not a guy that I feel you can take before, round 10. I mean, he's a late 9, early 10 guy.
How about the receivers? Any receivers on the team you guys are willing to take a flyer on? They added John Brown. They added Cole Beasley. They still have Zay Jones and Robert Foster there. Any of those guys worth a flyer late? I'll just say, which one do you like best if you're taking a flyer on them?
I like Zay Jones, but I think he might be a year early still. I mean, if you're going to get him, he's going to be very, very late. But I think he still might be a year early. I don't know if he's going to quite produce enough to be relevant for your team. But I do like him. I think he's got good upside. Or he could, or he, I think he's going to be on a lot of waiver wires. He's just a guy I would keep an eye out on. I'm not saying you to go out and if you have some sleepers in mind in the late rounds, I'm not saying to put Zay Jones in your mind, but just write him down and keep an eye on him throughout the year. See what he does early in the season, because he definitely developed a little chemistry with Josh Allen last year towards the end, and that could pick up to start the season. And he could be a guy that you could scoop up off the waiver wire early in the season.
Yeah, to me, when you're talking about undraftable guy, I think Zay is just going to end up going by the wayside. I think he's going to end up either by the end of training camp being traded, or them just seeing that he's not going to be a starter on this team. To me, Robert Foster showed last year that he has the ability to beat you deep, and you can't take that off the field. I'm sorry. It was clear as day. It was literally clear as day to anyone that knows football or anybody that watches football that Robert Foster and Josh Allen had a rapport last year. You got the fast guy with the quarterback with a big arm that liked to look for him downfield. Zay's not fast. There's nothing about Zay's game that, really translate to what Josh Allen is going to bring you. To me, I think Zay is the expendable piece. I think, John Brown is a deep threat and a guy who can get upfield and a guy who can do, run intermediate routes also. And, to me, the signing of Cole Beasley was a clear indicator that they are not sold on Zay, at all. I
100% agree with that. That's exactly what I was going to say. I don't even know why Buffalo's been trying Zay on the outside so much. He's always, to me, been built like a slot receiver. But I'm in agreement with you. If you're taking a shot on a guy, I would probably go with Robert Foster as well. You want to go? Why don't you start it off? You know what? I'll talk about Josh Allen for a minute. If you look at the last quarter of the season, week 13 to 16, Josh Allen was the number 6 quarterback overall during that time. Going into this year, how do you guys feel about that? I know, Steve, you're extremely high on him. You might as well get into it, but get into it a little bit.
From week 12 to week 17, Josh Allen was the number 1 fantasy quarterback in fantasy football. It is what it is. It's not a stat I'm making up. Go look it up. He was 100% from week 12 to week 17, the number 1 fantasy quarterback. So to me, with a better offensive line, I'm not saying he can finish number 1. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, don't try to misconstrue what I'm saying. What I am saying is the kid has a lot of upside. You know what I mean? Right now he has more weapons than he had last year. I think they're going to realize that Shady is shot, and they're going to, give Frank Gore the ball, give T.J. Yeldon the ball, and give, Devin Singletary is going to end up being the guy there sooner or later. I think that the wide receivers he has this year are a million times better than what he had last year. John Brown and Cole Beasley coming to this team is exciting because they are guys, Cole Beasley is a guy that can get open very quickly because he has really quick feet and he's able to get open, which Zay Allen needs. And Zay didn't provide last year. Zay was not a guy that was getting open quickly. And to me, Josh Allen, more than anything, they were not designed run plays. He was literally just ad-libbing.
On his own,
yeah. He was ad-libbing because guys weren't getting open quick enough. And the offensive line was so bad, he had pressure in his face. So it was either take the fuck off and you can get what you can get, or get sacked. And he did what he needed to do. So to me, he has 500-plus yard rushing upside. He has, 5-6 rushing touchdown upside. And with the weapons that he has this year, I think he throws more touchdowns than he did interceptions. I mean, last year he had, I think it was 12 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. But, it's 10 touchdowns,
10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
Okay, so 10 and 12. 18 total. He had 6, which means he had 8 rushing touchdowns. You know what I mean? The dude is just...
He had 8 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, 8 rushing touchdowns. That's a lot for a quarterback. If you can get a guy that's going to give you 5 rushing touchdowns, you're going to be happy with that. And if he can increase his touchdowns to 20, plus his yardage totals to, let's say, 3,700 yards, which is not like a crazy number, to me, he's definitely. I can definitely see him finishing in the top 10. I don't think it's a far-fetched idea. With a better offensive line, better weapons around him, I definitely think he can finish in the top 10.
Yeah, they definitely gave him some help there with some deep threats for a guy that can launch the ball 70, 75 yards effortlessly. And we saw it in college. We saw it at his pro day. We saw it last year in spurts. The guy, he's got an incredible gift of an arm. And they gave him the speed now. I mean, he's got speed on the outsides, and I think they're going to call plays that benefit his ability for that. I don't know if I'm as high as top 10 potential. I think he's going to get better as his career goes on and they start to build or bring in maybe some possible stars around him. But I definitely think 10 to 15 is for sure possible, especially since, like you said, Steve, I mean, finishing the number 1 overall between 12 and 17, you can't discredit that. That's pretty. That shows that he wasn't a one-hit wonder for a game or two. I mean, he consistently put together strings, and then the running ability for sure helps him. We kind of give him that Cam Newton dual threat. So I'm real excited to see what he can do in year 2.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near as high on him as that. I understand his rushing, but I don't see that happening again. I just don't. I mean, he was first off 8, like you said, Steve. 8 rushing touchdowns for a quarterback is just ridiculous. I mean, that is Cam Newton-esque, and I don't think that Buffalo wants him to be that way, and I don't think that he will be that way. And even still, looking at this, he did miss 4 games in the middle of the season with injury. Quarterbacks who run like that are going to get banged up a lot. So if he does wind up using his legs that way, I can definitely see him missing a good portion of the season because it just happens to all of them. Even Cam. Cam's a monster, but Cam gets hurt all the time. So, that's the issue I have. If he's running like that, I don't see him play 16 games. And if he's not running like that, he doesn't have the ability with his arm to put him in the top 10. So for me, I don't think he has a chance to finish in the top 10.
So you don't think his game resembles Cam's at all?
I definitely think it does. My problem is he missed 4 games last year getting hurt. I just don't see him staying healthy if he's going to be running consistently throughout the year. But
that's the thing, real quick. I just want to, because he didn't get hurt running. He didn't get hurt on a scramble play. He got hurt in the pocket, and it was a fluky. The guy hit his helmet with his elbow. It wasn't like he's running and getting smashed. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. He there was a couple times he took some pretty big hits.
Yeah, there was a couple times when he took shots last year when he was running, especially during the season. And I mean, you look at this dude. 1 game he had 135 yards. 3 games in a row, 99 yards rushing, 135 yards rushing, 101 yards rushing. Like, that's ridiculous, dude. No, that's not happening again. It's not happening again. And
mobile quarterbacks generally do get beat up more than your regular Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, statue-esque quarterback. So I can see where he's coming into saying,
9 attempts.
If he wants longevity, he's going to have to develop to be more of a pocket passer. I mean, with that kind of he reminds me a lot of Cam. He's got a huge arm. He's got speed. He's got agility. He's got the makings to be a really great quarterback. I mean,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's my argument.
He's in Buffalo, Steve.
He's in 89 rushing attempts in 12 games. That's an average of about 7.5 a game.
And I don't think that's going down. I really don't.
Kev, we got too much fandom. We're battling right now.
No, it's not fandom. It's not fandom. Just look at the offense.
I don't think it's fandom either. I see where Steve's coming from. Steve's basically comparing him to Cam and saying Cam is quarterback year in, year out. My thing is, Cam is a world-talented better. Cam was a number 1 overall pick that had the ability throwing the ball. Josh Allen has a cannon for an arm, but is not proven to be very accurate. If you look at his percentage in some of these games, he had in those last 5 games where he was the number 1 quarterback, he was only over 55% completion percentage once. Like, he just doesn't have the accuracy throwing the ball, and I don't think the rushing is going to be – if he's running the ball that much, he's not going to play 16 games. 89 times in 7.5 rushes a game. Phillip Rivers last year had 2 rushing attempts, period, for the whole season. Like, I just don't see how a quarterback running that much is going to be able to stay healthy for a full 16.
No, I hear what you're saying. My whole thing is, it has nothing to do with fandom because, it really doesn't.
At all.
Yeah. But this is my thing.
I was just poking. I had to poke.
No, I hear you. But this is the thing. Okay, so if you look at his protection rate last year, he was 32 in the league. He was basically the worst team in the league at protecting him. So he was taking off a lot. So I agree with you that I think his rushing attempts will go down, but I don't think it's going to dip all that much. I still think they saw how good he was doing that, and they're not going to take that away from his game. They're going to say, listen, if you have the opening, take it. And, instead of leaping over guys like he was last year, I think they're going to be like, yo, listen, go down if you need to go down. You know what I mean? Like, and he's not a slider. The dude is literally Cam Newton size. He's 6'5", 237 pounds. So Cam is 6'5", 250. You know what I mean? So you're talking about 13-pound difference, which is a lot. You know what I mean? But he's still only 23 years old. He's still developing. He could end up hitting 250 this year. You know what I mean?
He'll definitely put that on over time.
Exactly. So you're talking about the same size guy as Cam Newton at 23 years old. Cam Newton didn't start getting hurt until the past 2 seasons. I mean, past 3 seasons, whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, and Cam's been in the league 9 years. So, with a young quarterback, you know what I mean? And like I said, he didn't get hurt running. He got hurt from in the pocket. Guy came in and hit his elbow. I mean, he ended up having an elbow injury, and that's what put him out.
Yeah, but that's all the same type of shit that they say about Carson Wentz. I know Carson 2 years ago got hurt running, but last year he didn't get hurt running, and they still gave him an injury risk because he's a running quarterback. Like, I mean, it's the same. It's I understand what you're saying, but when a guy misses time, he's missing time. And
I agree. And I'm not saying that, it's impossible for him to miss time. With that kind of quarterback, I mean, there's a possibility he misses time. But I do not think he's going to throw 10 touchdowns this year. I think he'll throw more than 10. I mean, I don't think that he's, if you look at some of his advanced stats, right? He was on money throws, he was only 30%. He threw the least amount of passes in the whole league, right? He freaking of any starting quarterback.
Because running every time he got a chance.
He didn't have any wide receivers, dog. Like, you have to, you can't look at this team and say that his wide receivers didn't get better.
His wide receivers are much better, better.
Yeah, they're much better. So to me, if you take into account the offensive line getting better, plus the wide receivers getting better, the only conclusion that I can come with is he's going to be better throwing the ball. Especially if, he gets Robert Foster for 16 games. He gets Cole Beasley for 16 games, and he gets John Brown for 16 games. And some of those guys are injury prone too. I mean, John Brown, we know John Brown is an injury prone, wide receiver. So I'm not going to say he's going to get all 3 of those guys for 16 games. So, but I will say if he gets even, 13 games of John Brown and 16 games of Foster, because Foster was, he's not an injury prone guy, never got hurt in college, and he's not, hurt in the NFL. I definitely think his numbers could go up, and I don't think I'm talking crazy. I mean, and I'm not the only analyst that actually has him ranked inside the top 10.
I know. I do know. So, all right. So we'll talk about the Bills' defense really quickly. The Bills' defense is just nasty. Okay, like, don't let their fantasy ranking fool you from last year. Like, the Bills' defense is nasty. they got a ton of talent on that team. They literally had one of the best pass defenses in the league. You could not throw against them.
The best pass defense in the
league. Yeah, I mean, dude, the Buffalo Bills defense is on the come up, and definitely a fantasy defense worth taking a shot on, especially early on. They played the Jets in week 1, so they're definitely a good defense to draft this stream.
Yeah, I mean, this defense was like Kev said, they were nasty last year. In total net yards for a team, they were number 2. They gave up the second most yards at 4,706. The only team that was better was Baltimore with 1,687. Passing yards, they gave up the least amount of passing yards. They gave up 2,867. The closest team to them gave up, let me see here. The closest team to them gave up 31-13. So they were almost 300 yards better than the next best team, and that was Jacksonville. And everybody raves and rants and raves about how great the Jacksonville corners are. And guess what? Buffalo gave up 300 less yards. That's almost a game. That's literally a game of football less than any other team. You know what I mean? You're talking about rushing. They ranked in the, let's see, what was it in rushing? 16th in rushing. I mean, something's got to give. They gave up 23 points a game last year, which ranked, I believe it was like 11th. Yeah, 11th in the league. So, you're talking about a defense that played very, very well last year and, to me, got better. I mean, they got better this year. They got Ed Oliver. Anybody that knows college football, that watched college football last year, you know how good Ed Oliver is, and I don't have to say anything else. They literally said that he's basically Donald Penn, or Aaron Donald from the Rams. That is his comp. Yeah, I mean that's what they said. That's his
they got
comp.
They got him with the 9th pick, right? When he was
ninth pick. Yeah, he was supposed to go. He was supposed to go at 4.
Yeah, he was like, hey, I remember he was top 5.
Yeah, everybody thought he was going to the Raiders.
By everyone.
Yeah, everybody thought he was going to the Raiders, and then he dropped past the Raiders, and they're like, oh, the Giants will take him at 6, and then the Giants took the quarterback, and then they were like, oh shit, wait a second, where the hell is he going? Yeah. And we fell to 9. I was jumping up for joy. I was happy as shit. I was really happy about that pick. But this is just dominant defense. Tremaine Edmonds is a great linebacker. I know Kev, he probably wants to talk about him for a second because Brian Baldinger was saying something about him the other day. Kev will elaborate, but it's just a good defense. We have good corners, we have good safeties, and this defense, like I said, I wasn't joking the other day when I said I think they're going to finish number 1.
Yeah, they're projected 12-15 depending on where you look at, and so it's going to put them pretty much at the tail end of your 12-man league if you're in a 12-man league, and I think it's great value. I think if you can if you're depending on where you're drafting or you want to wait on defense, let everybody scoop up the Bears and the Rams and stuff, you're going to make out better overall because they're going to take those defenses way ahead of you in rounds. You're going to sit back, take guys way out, take your sleeper guys way ahead of them, and then you'll sit back and grab your Bills defense, and they're going to produce great at what rounds you're going to get them at. So overall, Bills defense, put it in your book, excellent value.
Yeah, basically Brian Baldinger was just saying Tremaine Edwards is a savage. He has a nose for the ball, and if you watch the film that he was breaking down, I mean, he was running through tight ends to get to the quarterback. He was chasing down running backs like it was nothing. He was a beast in the video. So, and yet, like I said, Buffalo's defense, they played the Jets week 1. So if you want to start your season off with a stream, Buffalo's a good one because the Jets last year did not show too much. So let's go to Miami. This is going to be pretty quick because not too much to break down with Miami. Let's just get into the whole running back situation since that's how we kind of have it here. Kenyon Drake has never really been giving the full workload over his, in the first 2 years. He looks super talented. I mean, the guy honestly looks like he should be a number 1 running back. He's a little bit smaller, I guess, so maybe that's why they've, shied away from giving him the full workload. Going into this year, do you think Kalen Ballard, do you think it's going to be like a 60-40 thing, kind of like what we talked about with Phillip Lindsay, Royce Freeman? Do you think that it's more 70-30 where Drake's just, coming out to get a breather. How do you guys feel about the Kenyon Drake versus Kalen Ballage thing?
Do you want to go, Dan? You want me to go?
You can go, and I'll hit you up later.
All right. So I don't think this is close. I've said this a lot. I don't think Kalen Ballage is. I just don't think he's talented. I mean, I think he does two things well. He runs fast, and he plots really hard because he's a big dude. So he can run you over, all day. But, if you watch his game tape, he reminds me a lot of what was his name? The dude from the Ravens last year that everybody was so high on.
Gus Bus.
No, not the Gus Bus.
Alex Collins.
Alex Collins. That's who he reminds me of. He's faster than Alex Collins, but he's a plotter. And I cannot stand upright runners, and he is an upright runner. He's like, he's cruising for getting his knees just taken out and him being out for the rest of the season. He's just, and that's why I don't like guys that run that way. I don't like guys that run that way because they constantly get lower body injuries because they're standing basically straight up and running. You know what I mean? So, defensive linemen are falling on their legs or, hitting their ankles and, they twist an ankle or they tear an ACL. And it just, to me, he's not somebody that I am even thinking about a little bit on my fantasy team. I think Kenyon Drake has not gotten the workload, and I do think that it'll be like a 70-30 split because I do think this coaching staff, especially because, the Patriots, what happened last year to them, they watched him, fuck them. Literally. Last play of the game, motherfucker took it back for us.
They didn't really fuck them too much. They won the Super Bowl, so
yeah. Well, you know what I mean. They had that game in the bag if it wasn't for that play. But Kenyon Drake, he's got the college pedigree. He's an Alabama kid. He's an Alabama kid. He's only 25 years old. He's got this. He really does have the size to be an NFL back. I mean, he's 6'1", 210. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's small. He's not a small guy. I think if anything, last year, what did we say his touches were, Kev? It was like 173 total touches. So, 73 targets, 53 receptions, without Frank Gore being there. And if he's on the field more, I see all those numbers going up. I see his targets going up. I see his receptions going up. I see his rushing attempts going up. His rushing attempts, if they get to around 200, I mean, they were only 120 last year. If they get to around 200 and the dude sees 100 targets this year, on a team that is going to have to throw the shit out of the ball because they suck, he could have a really good season.
Yeah, I'll pick up where you just left off about the sucking part. I'm not huge on Kenyon Drake. I think he is a talented kid. Played really good at Alabama. I just think he's going to be a product of his environment. And with that, I mean new coaching staff and bringing in Josh Rosen, and you got Fitzpat and Magic there, as backing up. Who knows who's going to, did they announce that Rosen's definitely going to be the starter? Or are they're going to battle it out?
No,
they didn't.
They haven't said anything.
So you don't have any relevant wide receivers there to really take any of the pressure off of the safeties or the linebackers or anything. I mean, it's going to be a rough road for him. So I'm not as high on Kenyon Drake. I do think he's a much more talented back than Ballage. So I would probably, I think they're going to give him the opportunity to have the majority of the workload. I think I could definitely see 70-30 for sure. He's just not on my list of guys that I want to take just because of the environment he's in.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I think Kenyon Drake has a world of talent. Like I said, right now Kenyon Drake's going round 5, pick 3. Which I think is a good value for him, considering his talent, and that he probably will be the main guy. But we talked the other day or in one of our recent podcasts about handcuffs, and this is a situation where I think Kalen Ballage is a great handcuff for Kenyon Drake. Kalen Ballage is going in the 14th round at pick 6. I think that's a good situation to handcuff just because it gives you a starting backfield. And if, you're taking Kenyon Drake, a lot of times when you wind up with Drake, it's because you're drafting wide receiver early, much like I was talking about with LaShawn McCoy. And Drake winds up being maybe your number two running back. And if you got Drake as your number two running back, you're going to want a little bit of insurance. And with Kalen Ballage going in the 14th round, that's a good spot to be handcuffing Kenyon Drake. Any I'll throw out, any receivers you want to take a shot on. I'm going to throw one out really quick. If Fitzpatrick becomes the starter, I will take a shot on Kenny Stills, because Fitzpatrick does not give a damn about interceptions. He does not give a damn about how people view his game. He is airing it out. If you watch what he did last year with Deshaun Jackson, oh my God, it was literally Fitz magic. And Kenny Stills is a very similar type of player. He will get down the field. If Fitzmagic is named the starter, I will take a shot on Kenny Stills.
Yeah, there's not really too many guys. I mean,
there's nothing. I mean, that was just if thing. That's just something I was watching, because I was just remembering last year with the way Fitzpatrick was with Deshaun Jackson. Kenny Stills is that type of player. He's a guy just straight down the field, air it out to him, and he goes and gets it. So I think if that's the case, if Fitzpatrick does get named their starter, I do think that Kenny Stills is a good flyer to take. Right now, Kenny Stills is he even being drafted? I think he's being drafted right now. So yeah, I have 14, pick 4.
Yeah,
so
I thought he was getting drafted.
14. 4.
Yeah, so basically, there's really nobody on this team. I just don't, and I hate to say it, because there's always going to be a guy on the team, on every team, that no one expects, and they end up being something. So to me, if there's 3 guys that I'm going to take a dart on the Miami Dolphins, and they're all late, they're all like real late, it's going to be Mike Gesicki, because he's got all the fucking talent in the world. The kid was like really, really, like it's not an exaggeration. The fucking kid was really good. Yeah, he was awesome in college. You know what I mean? Like and I know people were like really high on him last year because all everything, but he really was dominant in college. And he's fucking fast for a tight end. Like, he's stupid fast. So, I think that's a guy that I would take a dart on if let's say I have to pick a guy like Austin Hooper. I in that situation, I think I would throw a dart at Gesicki, because he has upside, and he could be a deep threat for fucking Fitzmagic. He could. So I'll take a chance on Gesicki. I'll take a chance on Albert Wilson. He's just you saw what the guy did with fucking limited touches last year. I think the dude had only what was it, 20 catches or something like that. It was something stupid, and his yardage was like crazy. So Albert Wilson had 34 total touches. He had let me see here, 26 catches for 391 yards, and then he had some rushes, and I believe I remember he had one big run. I'm trying to look that up, but with limited touches, the guy showed he could do something with the ball. So as a deep threat for Ryan Fitzpatrick, which we all know is going to air it out, I think he could be something. And then the last guy is Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker, I don't know what it is about Devontae Parker.
With Devontae Parker.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about him. The dude is just, I don't know if he's a fucking retard or I don't know, because he has you have seen, especially in the preseason, I don't think anybody looks better than Devontae Parker in the preseason. Every preseason, this fucking guy makes a play that you're like, holy shit, he's going to be so good. I want this guy on my team. And then he gets to week 1 and he forgets how to play football. It's like literally he gets shot in the brain.
It's Groundhog Day for the last 3-4 years with him.
Literally, it's like fucking week 1 starts and some imaginary fucking far off guy shoots him in the face with a bullet that just makes him lose all his football ability, and he just sucks the whole rest of the season.
He doesn't put up any great stats. I think he's got talent. But the thing is, they're just so bad that they bring them back because they got nobody else to replace them with. They're just like, all right, let's give him another shot and see if we can.
Yeah, fuck it. Give him a 2-year deal. We'll see if he figures it the fuck out. Yeah, it's just terrible. It really is bad. Real quick on Kenyon Drake, one I wanted to mention. I did want to mention this because this caught my eye, and I didn't say it. But the dude had 60 evaded tackles last year. That ranked 13th in the league of all players who play the running back position. And we all know he only had 120 carries. So out of 120 carries, the motherfucker had 60 evaded tackles. That's a really high number. You know what I mean? Like, guys that are in the top, I checked this out. Guys that are in the top 20, the only guy with less carries than him was, who the hell was it? It was some backup. I can't remember who the hell it was. But it was the only person who had even close, and it was crazy. His juke rate is 34.7%, which is number 7 in the league. I mean, the dude is super talented, and we said that. So Kenyon Drake, to me, only guy on this team that I want, and that's it.
All right, so we'll move on to the New England Patriots, your Super Bowl champions again. So
fuck the Patriots.
Let's start it off. Let's just start it off with Brady. I know he's not the highest drafted. I've been kind of trying to go in order of their draft values. But is this the year Brady falls off? Brady didn't look good at all last year. Is this the cliff year? Is this the year where we see the Tom look like his age?
Okay. So I'm a Bills fan, and I hate Tom Brady, and I hate the Patriots. But this is what I will say. For what I feel like they brought into this offense, I think Bill Belichick is a fucking genius. Like, there's literally no other way to say it. This dude is a fucking genius. Like, okay, so I'm going to bring it up and let you guys see. So, we all know his rapport with Julian Edelman. Literally, it's all, option routes where he's cutting across, he's doing hitches, he's doing, he's just all stuff really close to the line of scrimmage, and it doesn't seem like anybody can cover the guy, like, period. In that Super Bowl, if you watch that Super Bowl, the dude was like open all day long. Just all day long, the fucking guy was open. So if you talk about all the guys that they brought in, right? So they brought in Demaryius Thomas, who we all know is basically sapped of all his long speed anymore. He's a guy that's going to be catching close to the line of scrimmage. They brought in N'Keal Harry, who is the one guy that can actually possibly get downfield, but he's a playmaker with the ball in his hands, right? He's a guy that's going to catch the ball and make a play, right? They brought Dontrell Inman, another guy that we've watched for years and years, that when he catches the ball, he makes plays. You know what I mean? And I don't understand why the Chargers didn't re-sign him, because every time I see the guy on the field, it seems to me like he's doing something.
Was he on the Colts? I thought he was on the Colts last year. Was he on the Colts?
Yeah, he was on the Colts last year. But I'm saying I don't know why the Chargers didn't sign him, because when they let him go, it was the year before they got Mike Williams. So it was like, why would you get rid of this guy? Like, he's productive. It just seemed like he's a productive guy. And they got Matt Lacoste, who last year on the Broncos, you remember, not a deep threat, a guy who's going to catch the ball close to the line of scrimmage. So to me, they built this team to what Tom Brady can do. He can throw the ball accurately close to the line of scrimmage. And when you have a bunch of guys who have the ability to get open to the line of scrimmage, I do think he's going to be productive. I don't think he's going to be a top 12 guy, but I think he's definitely somebody that if you get like the last couple of top 12 guys, I mean, where you're not sure if they're going to be a top 12 guy, then take a chance on Tom Brady, because, I think Bill Belichick is a fucking genius, and I think this guy is going to have, some big games. He's going to have at least 5 or 6 big games this year, and then the rest of the games are just going to be a whole bunch of running. So, he's definitely, I'm not putting him in my top 12, but I definitely put him in like the top 15.
Oh, Tom Brady. So here's I think the most important factor why he probably won't be a top 10 quarterback, even though he could if they really did, work him, is because besides the age, this team doesn't care about weeks 1 through 4 or 1 through 6. They don't. They look like shit every year, weeks 1 through 5, 4, 5, 6. and it just seems like that there's no chemistry. And a lot of it, when you hear about it, they say that they don't amp it up and they don't really work their players until the season starts progressing. And that's why when you get towards the playoffs and you get towards the Super Bowl, their offense and defense just soars past most of the other teams. So fantasy-wise, I think he probably will finish in the middle of the pack where he's being drafted at. He's not going to be towards the end unless he gets hurt. He's not going to be in that top 10 area because there's just too many more, younger, I'm not going to say more talented quarterbacks, but quarterbacks that aren't going to have that. Quarterbacks are going to take more chances with the receivers, and I think they're going to be more of a balanced offense. And there's going to be a lot of slants to Edelman, and they're gonna feel out Harry and the other new guys and see what their strong areas are. So yeah, I think 12 to 15 is about right. If you want to take a chance on him as your number one, I would have another guy in that same area, as your backup to, play 1 and 2 and see, play matchups maybe and see who takes off. I wouldn't start in the beginning of the year because, like I just said, we've seen, history that he doesn't start very good at the beginning of the season. The whole team doesn't. They're normally 2 and 2, 1 and 3 always, and then they start to hit their stride. So that's all I got to say about Tom Brady. I don't like him either, Steve. Don't worry. No one really does. He breaks hearts.
Yeah, I have a middle of the pack. I think I have him ranked as 17 or 18. So like I said, to me last year he looked done. He wasn't able to stretch the field at all. And if that's going to be, like you said, if they're going to just say, all right, well, everything's going to be short, I think defenses are going to figure that out. My issue with N'Keal Harry to start the season is Tom Brady really relies on his receivers to be in connection with him. Like, you will probably see Tom Brady curse N'Keal Harry out multiple times this season early in the year because, he does that to almost everybody. So you probably see that. Just looking at him last year, he was just very, very blah. Very blah. I had him in one of my leagues, and he never really blew up. I mean, he never really was consistently bad. He always was double digits, but at the same time, he never really gave you that 30 to 35 point game that Tom Brady could have given you even 2-3 years ago. So, Tom Brady's probably not a guy I'm drafting. I mean, if I'm drafting a quarterback and waiting in that range, usually I wind up going Jameis Winston because of how high I am on him. But I would probably take Cousins ahead of him, which I'm embarrassed that I'm even saying that. There's just other guys I think
don't sleep on Cousins. Don't sleep on Cousins.
Other guys I would rather take a shot on than drafted Tom Brady, who last year he showed me that cliff is coming soon.
I'll just give one more point and then we move on to the next guy. But I don't think it's so much of a cliff, talent wise. I just think that he's smarter and that he doesn't have anything left to prove in his career. I mean, the guy has. He's the number.
He always has something to prove, bro.
Well,
always. That's the reason
he wants to prove people wrong in the winning. I think he wants to prove people wrong in the winning aspect more so in the statistical aspect, which is why he's not really a relevant starting quarterback because I don't think he has anything left to prove in that area. I mean, when you gave him Randy Moss, what that looked like, that was one of the top combinations we've ever seen in NFL history. So the guy has been a statistical monster when he, in his prime. But I just don't think. I mean, I as much as I hate him, I just can't use the cliff word with him because there's a good chance we're going to be seeing this guy in freaking January and February again.
Yeah, and okay, so his positional rank was 12 last year. Real quick, I'm just gonna go over the stats. His positional rank. Yeah, in 6 point per passing touchdowns, it was 12. So,
I got him 13 here. So I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if I'm looking at 4 or 6, but I don't know which 4 or 6 passing. I don't know which one I'm looking at, but
still, he was 12, 13.
His back end of QB1.
Yeah. So if you look at his game logs, we'll go over the games. So, the thing was he wasn't really ever killing you. You know what I mean? Like he did have a couple of games.
Like he was never terrible, but he never really blew. He had never really had those crazy three, and even when he did have 3 touchdown games, looking at it, he was throwing 2 picks in those games. Like, he never really had the games where it was like, okay, that I got Tom Brady this year. You know, it was just like, you know, I got another guy at quarterback. I could have got this production from the, 12th round as opposed to getting it from the fucking 6th round. Yeah. So,
No, I agree. He definitely, from where you drafted him last year, because everybody drafted him super high last year. I mean, I think he was a top 3 quarterback last year, but he didn't really. Okay, so he had against Buffalo, and I told everybody, I said this to everybody. I mean, he normally kills Buffalo, but Buffalo is normally a team that he smashes. Last year, no, 126 yards and a touchdown and 2 interceptions. So he didn't do shit in that game. But he had a 250-yard game and 4 touchdowns against the Jets week 1. That was basically his only real big blow-up game. And then he had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other games. Like I said, he's going to have 5 or 6 games where he blows up. He had 6 games. So he had a 358 and 3 touchdowns against Miami. He had a 277 and 3 touchdowns against Chicago, which to me that's fucking impressive. You know what I mean? Against that team. Against Indy, he had 341 and 3 touchdowns. Against Miami again, he killed them twice last year, 274 and 3 touchdowns. And then the last game of the season against Houston, he had 277 and 3 touchdowns. So
you went in reverse order there. Week 1 was Houston.
Yeah, week 1. I'm sorry. It was from front to back, whatever. Yeah. But, like I said, he's going to have 5 or 6 fucking really huge blow-up games, and then the rest of the games are just going to be, he had, 1, 2, looks like 2 games with no touchdowns, and then he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
The one game against Buffalo, he had 324 yards, but he had no touchdowns.
Yeah. So he had...
How it's possible.
I hear you. But he had, like I said, he had, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games with 1 touchdown, and then 2 games with no touchdowns. So,
and I'm discrediting the last week against the Jets because the Jets sucked, didn't care. And week 17 is irrelevant for fantasy.
I hear that. So, like I said, he's a back end quarterback. He's going to have 5 or 6 big weeks, and that's the way you got to look at Tom Brady.
Yeah, so let's get into Julian Edelman. Obviously, he's the go-to guy now with Gronk gone. Super Bowl MVP. This guy is just a PPR machine. The one thing with Julian Edelman that you have to question is injuries. He's already right now, he's got a thumb injury or something like that, apparently. I don't think that's going to affect him too much going into the season, But, yeah, Julian Edelman right now is usually back end of the 3rd round when he's drafted. How do you guys feel about Julian Edelman this year? What's his upside? Where you guys see him finishing? I remember our wide receiver podcast. Dan said he had the upside number 1
motherfucker.
So that was a very, very long shot. Gut answer, but I obviously if I think he has a potential to be in that area, then I'm big on Julian Edelman. It's just the rapport he has with Tom Brady. We just touched on it, so I'm not going to touch on it anymore. But he's got the chemistry with him. He's going to be his go-to guy. I mean, from what Steve mentioned that they, earlier that when he was talking about Tom Brady, that they have certain plays and they're always mixing things up at the line. But Julian Edelman, he said he talked about this not too long ago. I just heard, but he didn't obviously say what the plays are called or how many they package. But he said that him and Tom Brady have a multitude of packages that he runs every time, and they switch it every game. And he makes decisions that only him and Tom Brady know, like in the middle of plays on what routes are going, depending on where the defense is lined up. Like these two have such a crazy amount of work together, work history, and moving forward, different plays that it's with Tom Brady's timing and the amount of years that he's been doing this for, and at the top of everyone, it's just impossible for Julian Edelman to not have an incredible year, barring injury or injection.
Yeah, I agree. I am super high on Julian Edelman this year. I think of, and I'm pretty sure, I think last year actually, me and Dan, I remember before the draft we were talking about Julian Edelman. That we were, because last year he had the 4-game suspension, and I remember talking to you about where are you taking them and, just shit like that. But I think Julian Edelman is going to be really good this year based on the fact that he really is the only wide receiver Tom Brady trusts on the team.
Yeah, he's the only one with any chemistry with Brady right now.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. They still have guys from, last year that are still there. But to me,
that's why he brought 3 new receivers in. That's why, because those guys were
nothing special.
No.
But okay, so when you think about the departures, right? You got Rob Gronkowski gone. Josh Gordon, who the fuck knows? I mean, he might play, he might not. Who gives a shit? Cordell Patterson is gone. He had 63 total touches last year. Philip Dorsett is coming back. And if you remember, in the beginning of the season, Philip Dorsett did have like a 4 or 5 game stretch, before Julian Edelman came back, I think it was, that he was playing, pretty good. So I wouldn't say like fantastic or anything, but I remember I picked him up and I used him like for 2 weeks or whatever, because last year I went heavy running back and was hurting at wide receiver in our league. So, I used Philip Dorsett a couple of times. So, he's a guy that I think maybe
touchdowns.
Yeah, maybe.
And Chris Hogan's going too.
Yeah, Chris Hogan's gone.
Yeah, they lost a lot. They really did lose a lot.
Hogan was one of the most overrated players I think ever.
Yeah, 7-Eleven, dog. Fucking the Hard Knocks, bro. No, but that's what I'm saying. Hard Knocks fucking blows people up, dude. Yeah, and that's why Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is going to be fucking huge, bro. I'm telling you, and I'm off topic, but Hard Knocks makes fucking guys super high in fantasy. If you look at the correlation of guys on teams that are on Hard Knocks and where they get drafted like two rounds early. They really do. It's like 2 rounds earlier than what they're supposed to. I would not be surprised if by the end of Hard Knocks, Josh Jacobs is a 2nd round pick. I'm serious. It would not shock me even a little bit.
It is possible.
So, but back on to the Patriots.
Yeah, go back to Edelman.
Yeah, back to Edelman. Last year, he missed 4 games. He had 83 total touches. The dude had 108 targets in 12 games. The dude had 74 catches for 850 yards. So, and I don't like to do this, but if you added up what he could have done the whole season, he probably was going to be damn near real close to 100 catches in the season, if not over. I would say if you extrapolate the numbers, it's basically like 104, receptions and like 130 targets, or it's like 140 something targets. So that's basically number 1 wide receiver numbers. Anybody's getting more than 140 targets, that's a wide receiver 1. It would have been over 1,000 yards, and he ended up with, what the hell was his touchdowns? He ended up with 6 touchdowns. So let's say 8 touchdowns. That's dominant. And you still had Gronk on that team. You still had all the guys that we just named on that team. So this year, at him being the number 1 target, I definitely could see, over 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns is definitely a possibility to me.
Possibility. I'm going to say this. If Julian Edelman plays 16 games, he has the possibility of breaking the all-time receptions record.
Yeah.
There's no Gronk, and we've seen what he's done without Gronk. Like I said, Brady has no connection, no chemistry with any of the other guys that people are expecting to start. Like people expect, we just talked about 3 receivers, and none of them were on the team last year. He obviously still has James White. That's obviously going to play a huge role in that. But if James White goes down, there is nothing but Edelman there that Tom Brady has a connection with. So if that happens, 16 weeks, I could this dude could catch 120, 130 balls. It's definitely possible. And last year, from week 5 to week 16, he was the number 10 receiver. He was the number 1 receiver in fantasy football and PPR leagues. So, getting him at the end of the 3rd round is excellent value. Let's move on to the running back situation.
This is gonna be good. I can't wait for this.
I know you love it.
I'll go quick because I know Steve's going to probably take up a little bit of time.
I'll just say this.
Go ahead.
PPR leagues were obviously all highest on James White in PPR leagues. I don't think we could disagree with that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So standard leagues. Who are we highest on standard leagues? Okay, and that includes James White because James White is on that team and is a factor in standard leagues. It's not like he's just irrelevant in standard leagues. Who are we highest on? They obviously added Damian Williams in the third, or Damian Harris in the third round, and still have Sony Michel, who was a monster down the stretch last year and in the playoffs. And, they have James White. They also still have Rex Burkhead, who, at this point, many people are considering irrelevant. So,
he's probably cut.
If not for special teams reasons, I'm pretty sure Rex Burkhead's pretty good on special teams. But, yeah, so of those three, who do we like in standard leagues? Dan, you wanted to start. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
I'll just I like Sony Michel, but you got to like the upside of Damian Harris and what they, what everything that they're talking about with them. And, now that Michel's on the PUP list, he better hope that this is not a long-term injury or he may not get that starting job back. So it's, obviously you got to, if Sony Michel is what, he showed what he was and what he's capable of. And he's the clear number one if he's healthy and on the field. But that team does not, they don't value any kind of, starting position player anywhere on the whole entire team aside from Tom Brady. They do not value, where you're at. You come in, same grade as the next guy. So it's whoever performs best in his system, and he doesn't care. So, even though Sony Michel may have had the bit of the breakout year last year, and he's labeled the number one as of right now, barring injury, being healthy, Damian Harris steps on that field and shows that he's, more than capable of producing more than Sony Michel. Guess what? Guess he's going to get the majority of the carry. So I'm really, really interested to see, this team battle it out, the running back position, because I know Steve will talk on us because he said to us 2 months ago, watch out for Damian Harris because this kid is going to make some news, and no one even knew who he was, really, aside from a couple people that follow, watched the draft where he was drafted at. But people were all about Sony Michel and obviously James White because they're the two names. But this kid is creeping up draft boards by the day.
Yeah, like Dan just said, it's, to me, that is the 100% truth about Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick does not give a shit where you got drafted because guess what? He's the one who drafted you. So he don't care if you got drafted in the first round or the seventh round. Bill Belichick is 100%. The reason why he is the best coach in football is because he will sit there and tell you, you hear him all the time. You hear him on the sidelines. Do your job. Do your job. If you do your job, we will win this game. And I'm telling you right now, if Damian Harris comes into this team and he shows that he can do the job and he can do it just as effectively as Sony Michel, and Sony Michel misses all of preseason because of this injury, week one, Damian Harris is going to be the starter. There is no way in fucking hell Sony Michel is going to miss every game in the preseason, and I'm not saying that he is because I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on.
Well, he's on the PUP list as of right now, so that's if you're on the PUP list, you probably ain't getting back. He's not probably making week 1 or 2 of the preseason, so it's gonna be a story that we're gonna be following. That's for sure.
Definitely. So if he's still not healthy by the end of week 3, because they don't play guys in week 4, if he's not healthy by week 3 and playing in that game, I'm telling you right now, Damian Harris is going to be a guy that's getting drafted real high, like a lot higher than he's getting drafted now. So, definitely a guy to keep an eye on. And I told you guys 2 months ago I love this kid. Like everybody was saying how Josh Jacobs took his job and this and that. Josh Jacobs, I do think is more talented than Damian Harris, definitely, and I think he proved it in the couple of games that they let him become the starter. Damian Harris got a little banged up. They brought in Josh Jacobs, and he did a great job. You know what I mean? I definitely think he's a better running back, but I don't think Damian Harris is a bad running back. I don't think that makes him a bad running back. Alabama always has 2 or 3 fucking guys on their team that are just amazing. Like really, really good running backs. They never have Alabama never has a team where they only have like one really good running back. They have 3 or 4 fucking guys that are great. You know what I mean?
Or one quarterback at that matter.
Exactly. So yeah, exactly. So fucking Tua Vailoa. There it is. That's all you have to say. He was better than the goddamn starter on that team.
They put him in second half in the national championship game. Like
fucking
who
won.
does? Oh yeah, he comes out for his 4 touchdowns. That was incredible.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. But that team is just it just produces very, very good running backs, and Bill Belichick. I'm telling you, if he sees that this guy can do the job, he's going to do it. But if you're talking non-PPR, what guy I would rather have at this moment right now, I'm still taking James White, because I think James White, like I said before to you guys weeks ago when we did the running back podcast, he has the clearest role on that team. You know what I mean? He's going to catch. He's probably going to catch 80 balls again this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's probably going to see 120 targets like he did last year. You know what I mean? He's going to see basically the numbers he saw last year. He's going to see them again. You know what I mean? I don't see that changing. And I've been beating the drum for this guy since the beginning. You know what I mean? I think I had him the highest out of all of us, or like something. I think I had him like 17 in my PPR ranks. And in my non-PPR ranks, he doesn't drop that much. He drops to like 21. So I don't know. James White, to me, has the safest and clearest role on this team, and the guy that I think is going to get, a clear role to some of the most touches.
Yeah, I mean, in standard regular leagues right now, I'm still going with Sony. I think the Patriots play games. The one thing I will say about Sony that I'm a little worried about, he's always had knee issues, and this is another knee issue, and there's been talk about it. Like, he has a very, very similar thing to Todd Gurley. He has the arthritis in the knee, that could maybe cause him to miss some time here and there. My issue with that's pretty much my only issue with Sony Michel, and if I'm not going to cut into Todd Gurley for it, then I can't really cut into Sony Michel for it if I don't hear any new news about it. The one thing I will say about James White, last year at 123 targets, 87 receptions. That was almost 40 more targets than he's ever gotten in his career, and almost 30 more catches than he's ever gotten in his career. I definitely see James White regression. He's also pretty much stayed healthy for the last 4 years of his career. That's another thing that, he's got the size that, just makes it a little scary to think that he's going to continue to stay healthy year in, year out. He has proven it, so maybe he continues that trend, but I definitely see a little regression, especially considering adding all the pass catchers. The one thing I will say is that he has the second, he's the guy with the second most chemistry with Brady. So if Brady's not looking to Edelman, he's going to be looking to James White. And, that makes him definitely the number one running back on this team in PPR leagues. So we'll get into N'Keal Harry now. N'Keal Harry was their first round pick at the end of the, pick at the end of the first round. If you watch the guy play in college, he is a monster at going up and getting the ball. Steve will talk about that a little bit when he breaks them down, because, the guy literally he was a monster. He goes up and gets the ball with the best of them. Right now, N'Keal Harry is being drafted at round 9, pick 10. For me, that's a little – I'm not really as excited about N'Keal Harry as I am even about DK Metcalf, mainly because I think Russell Wilson has the ability to stretch the field a lot better than what Tom Brady's going to this year. Tom Brady also relies on that chemistry with players, and, a rookie receiver, he's just not going to have that same chemistry with. So N'Keal Harry is not really a guy I'm excited about for this year. I do think he's an excellent dynasty player to grab, because I just trust that Bill Belichick, as long as he's coaching, will find a way to use him over his career. But this year, I just think that it's going to take a little too much time for him and Tom Brady to develop that kind of chemistry. So at round 9, pick 10, there's other guys there. I'd much rather take a shot on Kiki or Curtis Samuel or maybe not Cortland Sutton. I didn't really see a lot from him, but Marquez Valdes-Scantling is only 5 picks earlier. He's another guy I like better, just as taking a flyer there. Dan, how do you feel?
Pretty similar to you. I think that N'Keal Harry is going to be a good receiver in this league. He's just talent always wins, and he's a talented guy, and he's got the right coaching staff. He's got, I'm not going to say really the right quarterback, because who knows how much longer Tom Brady's going to be doing this for, and N'Keal's a rookie, so he's definitely not going to be playing with Tom his whole career, if not the next few years. But he's just, I agree with a lot of the points you made. It's with Tom Brady, it's all about chemistry, and that's why Tom Brady's going to have such an incredible year with Edelman and James White. And I would love N'Keal Harry like around 11 or 12, but I'm just going to keep on saying what you said and reiterate what you said, Kev. There's other guys I like in that area. I'm big on Corey Davis this year. I've stated him a few times, and he's going right around the same areas as Harry is. So I'm pretty much not picking him in round 9. I know a lot of people are high on him, so I'm gonna let other guys take him while I look at other guys I like.
Yeah, Steve, why don't you get into N'Keal Harry a little bit?
Yeah, like I said,
technical difficulties.
Yeah, right. Like I said, I like N'Keal Harry a lot. I think he's a very talented guy. I think he wins at the point of attack, which is a big deal. I think that he's going to be a red zone threat. And that's the main reason why they got him. I think of all the reasons why they got N'Keal Harry is because he's a guy that can win in the red zone, and they need that. So for me, it's just I don't know how many targets he's going to get. Looking at the way that they built this team, I think it's going to be a low passing offense. I don't think they're going to throw the ball, as much as Tom Brady has thrown in the past. And yeah, that could hurt N'Keal Harry. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, if Josh Gordon comes back, because we still don't know what's going on with Josh Gordon, that could be an issue for N'Keal Harry, because, Brady already has a rapport of Gordon. Gordon's been in the league for 7 years. He's been fucking, kicked out of the league for a couple of those years. But, he still has NFL experience, and he knows what, Tom Brady knows how to play the position. So that could be an issue. That's definitely something that you're going to have to watch out for before you take N'Keal Harry. But talent-wise, the fucking guy is talented as shit. Like, he's really, really good. Of all the offenses that I know, everybody's like, he went to the best spot he could have gone because now he's got Tom Brady throwing to him. I don't think that's the case at all. And I think all the people that are saying that are really, I don't want to say misinformed, because, the fantasy community, I think we're all very well versed in fantasy football, but I think they may not be as versed in the way the Patriots do things and the way Tom Brady does things, because if you're not doing the right fucking thing, Tom Brady will literally he'll pull an Aaron Rodgers and not throw you the fucking ball. Just be like, yep, you fucked up on that pattern. You ain't getting another pass this game. You know what I mean? So there could be a lot of games where you see N'Keal Harry go for 1 for 13, and that's it in his first year. So I'm not trusting N'Keal Harry on my fantasy team this year. On my dynasty team, he's a top 4 pick for me, definitely, 100%. And depending on if I need a wide receiver, he's the number 1 pick. And that's just because in dynasty, I know I have him for the next 10 years, 12 years, and I want that guy because I think he's that talented. So, that's basically what I have to say about him.
Got him with the 5th pick in our dynasty league this year. So that's pretty much it for the New England Patriots. I don't think there's anybody else to expand on. We kind of talked about the running back situation, so we don't really need to get into the individuals of it. Let's move on to the Jets. We'll start off with Le'Veon Bell, obviously. Does he return to form after missing a year, or do you think that he's going to have a little bump in the road getting back into NFL game shape or games?
I find it very hard to believe that he's going to just bounce back to what he was before he left the league. And it's not because of his talent. It's because we saw, how many times did we see Le'Veon Bell take all preseason off, come back, be shit terrible week 1, be shit terrible week 2, be just mediocre week 3, and then by week 4 and 5, when he's finally got his legs under him because he's back in the the groove of things, that he takes off and he's really good. We've seen it a bunch of times. This guy just took a year off of football, and from all reports, I don't know how true it is, they were saying that fucking gained like 30 pounds. You know what I mean?
If you remember, when he was in Michigan State, he was like 250 something. Like he was a
big dude.
He lost like 30 pounds when he got into the NFL to become that guy. But when he was in Michigan State, he was a bowling ball.
Yeah, he likes to eat. There's no doubt about it, because you were hearing a lot. And it wasn't just one news source. It was a couple of news sources saying that he looked like he gained like 30, 40 pounds easy. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying, hey, I'm not criticizing him. Hey, you weren't on the league. You were doing your thing. Like, hey, no problem. But
I'm sure there's reasons that he really likes to overeat at times. So there might be something that is causing the effect of the eating, especially if you're not playing football for a year. I mean, this is a guy that got suspended for when he was in the league for some abuse. But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, I'll leave the psychology for the psychologist. You know what I mean? I don't know what the fuck his problem is. I know he gained like 40 fucking pounds real fast.
I don't know. He responded to that by putting a video up of himself where he looks pretty ripped. So,
oh yeah, no, he did something the other day. What was it? He was running up and down the escalator or some shit at some airport because he was like, "You motherfuckers think I'm not working out? Here we go." He started running down the steps. He was running up the fucking escalator. I was like, "Yo, this dude is crazy." But my whole thing is, the Jets' offensive line is shit. Like, they were not good last year. They were bad, real bad. Kelechi Osemele, he's a good guard, but he played like shit last year. He was bad. You know what I mean? The Raiders took a 5th round pick for him because that's how bad he was last year. I think that has something to do with John Gruden. I don't think he liked John Gruden. I think that's why they got rid of him for a 5th round pick, because he just wasn't buying in. And, John Gruden is known for, if you ain't buying in, get the fuck out. So, I think that might have what happened, but I don't know. It could be that, Kelechi Osemele lost a step, and they were just like, all right, let's get rid of this fucking guy because he's not going to be productive for us. I mean, there's no point in holding on to him, paying him what we're paying him. But in the same breath, I don't know, how good this offensive line is going to be. They really didn't, do a whole lot to make this offensive line better. You know what I mean? They were ranked 25th in PFF's rankings last year, and all they did was add a Kelechi Osemele, and they added Egden from Idaga, or how I'm not gonna butcher his name any further, from USC. So I don't know how good this offensive line is going to be. Kevin Beachum is still a good tackle, but other than that, I don't think this offensive line is any good. So it's really hard to be a productive running back when your offensive line is shit. But, if Le'Veon Bell, can get back to form, I think he could have a good season. He's not somebody that I would take in the first round. I would rather have Mixon. I would rather have Dalvin Cook. I would rather have. There's a couple of running backs that I would rather have than Le'Veon Bell. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think Le'Veon, overall #1 pick for a couple of years there in a row when he was just kicking ass in Pittsburgh, but there's just too many factors around him. I've been staying away from it in all my mock drafts. I'm not buying it. I don't think he's going to have a good relationship with Adam Gase. I don't like Adam Gase as a coach. I think the team is just really bad. I think Adam Gase is going to startle Darnold's progress too. And I just think I think it's gonna at some point. And let's not forget that he was out of football for a year. I mean, he's not going to be in NFL shape. He could be in NFL shape, but he might not be in running back shape that some of these other top tier guys are in. So for me, he's too talented to have a mediocre year. He's going to probably have a good year, especially once he starts getting his legs back under him. But to draft him mid first round, where he's been going, late first round, that's way too high for me.
Yeah, and I am a similar. I feel similar to you guys. I think he's going to struggle getting back into game shape, and the schedule for Le'Veon Bell to start off the season is incredibly difficult. I mean, I think he plays run defense. Do you have his schedule right off the rip there, Steve? I know you.
Yeah, I was actually looking at it. I'll get it. Go ahead, keep talking. I'll pull it up real quick.
I know the Patriots are in there, and I know the Eagles are in there, which were two very, very good run defenses. His first four matchups are just ridiculous. So, and he, like Steve said, he already gets off to bad starts. And, I don't know if he'll be playing too much in the preseason this go round, but he's just a guy that's for a first round pick, he's a big risk. And those first round picks, man, they can if you miss on your first round or first and second round picks, your fantasy squad is going to struggle because other people are not missing on first and second round picks, and those are the teams that are going to win. You can win. You don't win your draft there, but you stay relevant because of your first and second round picks. You can lose fantasy leagues off your first and second round picks. Trust me, I know. So, yeah, Le'Veon Bell is definitely a guy that's way too much of a risk for me. In the first round, I may take him back into the first round, but there's guys I wouldn't say Joe Mixon for me as much because I just think Joe Mixon. I don't know. Le'Veon Bell has a much higher ceiling to me than Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's ceiling to me, it isn't much more than what it was last year. And I think Le'Veon Bell has the ceiling to be the number one running back. He's shown he can do it, even though his team right now is terrible.
Are you taking Le'Veon over Dalvin Cook?
No. Okay. That's what I was just getting ready to say.
I'm with you there.
I think Dalvin Cook's going to be a beast this year. So Dalvin Cook, no.
So but real quick, Kev. So week 1 they play the Buffalo. Week 2 they play the Browns. Week 3 they play the Patriots. Week 4 they play the Eagles. Week 5 they play Dallas. Week 6 they play the Patriots again. Week 7 they play the Jaguars. They don't get an easy game until week 8 against Dolphins.
Games against tough defense. You know what? I may take Joe Mixon over him now. 7 straight. That is half of your season right there, where he's just, man. That's tough. That's tough. That's a tough way to start your season off. And the dude he's one of the best running backs in the league, but coming off where he did not play and going up against those teams to start your first 7 games, I agree. I think Le'Veon Bell's not going to be my first round pick.
Yeah, listen, so me and Kevin were talking about this the other day, and we were just talking about Jets players in general, and I was saying how I didn't want to take Jets players because their schedule was just not good. Yeah, their schedule was just not good. And, I if you go on the website, fourthandinchesff.com, you will see that I put a strength of schedule on there, and I did the strength of schedules myself, so I know kind of what everybody's schedule is. And I remember looking at the Jets vividly and thinking, holy shit, they're not going to win a game in the first 7 games. They're going to get their asses romped. I mean, they're losing to the Patriots twice. They're not beating the Eagles. They have a chance to beat the Bills only because, the Bills are they're mediocre. And they could be very good this year or they could be very bad this year. We don't know. But, they have a great defense, and I know that already. The Browns, much improved defense from last year, and they were good defense last year. The Patriots, we already know. Bill Belichick always has his team playing well. The Eagles a very improved defense this year. They're going to be good as shit. I mean, the Cowboys, we saw what the Cowboys were last year. They didn't fucking really let anybody other than the Rams run on them last year. The Patriots again. Then you got the Jaguars, who I think are going to be a much improved this year. They could be a top 3 defense again this year. I mean, up until you get into the Dolphins in fucking November. Like, think about that, guys. November 3rd is their first game where they have like an easy game where they're going to go in there and they're going to smash the Dolphins because the Dolphins suck. And they're playing at Miami. You know what I mean? Then after that, they got the Jets. That's a nice get. You know, after that, the schedule really opens up.
They are the Jets.
Yeah, it's you know, the Dolphins, the Giants, the Redskins, the Raiders, the Bengals.
So
second half.
I was going to say, might we say Le'Veon Bell around week
5?
6?
Trade for is that?
trade for week 5, week 6. He's gonna be all.
Yeah, you're gonna have to endure some losing games. I mean, like to get Le'Veon Bell, he's gonna have to be shit for the first 4 weeks, and you're gonna have to say, "Fuck it, I'm buying in," because I know his schedule the second half is gonna be good.
I love this shit because we're just gonna talk about our league for a sec. I know Joe Mood thinks he's fucking walking away with this shit, having Le'Veon and Christian McCaffrey. I love that because I'm going to be hitting him up in week 6, like, yo, what's up for Le'Veon? What's up?
And he's gonna trade him to you. That's the funny
part.
part.
He will. If he sucks, he will. Let's move on. I mean, we've talked about Le'Veon enough. We're obviously all three kind of not really high on him as a first round pick this year. Looking at his schedule, Robbie Anderson is probably the next guy being drafted on the Jets. What do you think Robbie Anderson's upside is? Obviously, this dude that deep threat. You know, probably one of the better deep threats in the league, honestly. What do you guys think his upside is, though, being on this team with a team that, you know, who knows what their passing game is going to look like? It's all going to depend on the arm of Sam Darnold. So,
yeah, I'm lower on him than I am on Le'Veon because I think Le'Veon could have some good games in there. I don't see a path to good games. Week 1 against the Bills. We all know that they were the best pass defense in football last year.
Talked about it.
Yeah, we just talked about it. So the Browns are a very good pass defense. The Patriots have Stephon Gilmore that's probably going to shadow him. So the first 3 weeks he ain't doing shit. Then the Eagles, you know, the Eagles corners were bad last year, but that was because both safeties were fucking hurt. Well,
no.
Yeah, McLeod.
McLeod got hurt, and that was what killed their team.
Exactly. McLeod's coming back healthy. Jenkins is going to play this year. The defense is going to be much better. So he's going to have a tough time against the Eagles. The Cowboys corners, we know they're very good. I mean, then he plays the Patriots again. He's going to see Stephon Gilmore again. Then he goes against the Jaguars. He's going to see fucking Jalen Ramsey. You know what I mean? Like he's
one or the other.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And Oboye is just as maybe not just as good, but like really close to what you know. He's a very, very good corner. So, you know, in the first 7 games, he's going to be facing really, really good corners. He's another guy that, just like Le'Veon, just like anybody on the Jets, you know what I mean, that you are high on, is going to be somebody that you want to trade for week 6, week 7, week 5. You know, get him on your team because the second half of their schedule is amazing. I mean, the Dolphins, I'll read them again. The Dolphins, Giants, Redskins, Raiders, Bengals, Dolphins again, the Ravens, who are just a shell-shocked team after losing almost their whole fucking defense. And then the Steelers, you know, not a really good pass defense. But then they ended the season with the Bills. But, you know, you got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row where they're not playing really a defense that you have to worry about at all. So, you know, in the first 7 games, I think Robbie Anderson is really, really going to struggle. I think that passing game is really, really going to struggle. And then in the second half, I mean, trade for him, and he's going to be good.
Trade for.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I wasn't real big on Robbie Anderson before you read off that schedule, so I'm even less likely to look twice at him right now. So I mean, I guess bottom line, I'm not really just kind of the same areas as Miami. I'm not taking Jets players. I just don't like the schedule. I don't like the fit. I don't like the team, coaching staff. Just nothing about them really screams helping you win a championship. So there's just there's a lot of there's a lot of players in his area that are I'd rather have on my team. So I'm definitely going to look elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you look around that time, he's getting drafted round 6, pick 12. I love Robbie Anderson as a player. That schedule is just too tough. I mean, you look at guys around that area. You got Tyler Boyd, Dante Pettis, Christian Kirk, Will Fuller, Sammy Watkins, like all those guys. I think that are going to be better draft picks than Robbie Anderson. Like we said, Robbie Anderson's probably a guy around week 6, week 7 you want to try and trade for, because then their schedule gets a lot easier. But if you're drafting Robbie Anderson, you're basically drafting him either as your wide receiver 2 or your flex, and just be prepared to get let down early in the season, because it's a very rough road to start. It's going to be really bumpy, and then once week 7 comes, it's going to be straight and narrow. So, kind of listen to what we're saying here. I mean, just because players are good, like, look at that strength of schedule. Like Steve said, we have it on the website, and it's free content. Just check it out. I mean, you can see, comparing to where last year's defenses are, what every team's strength of schedule is at every position. So, it gives you a really good idea about where these guys are, what kind of matchups these guys are going to have. And, Anderson's the perfect example of this, and Le'Veon Bell and this Jets team, like, you're going to draft these guys thinking that they're going to be stud players for you, starters for you, and you're going to be really disappointed to the point where you're ready to get rid of them, and then you're going to get rid of them, and they're going to do well. That's pretty much how this story goes. No. So,
and the way, real quick, the way I figured out strength of schedule is very simple. It's not like a complicated way to do it. So if you want to look at strengths of schedule because you're not sure if I was correct, I mean, maybe my numbers were wrong, you wanted to look at it yourself. This is how you do it. You take the team that you're looking at, right, and then you look at the team's total pass defense, total rush defense, total whatever, right? So if you're looking at tight ends, you want to look at the passing defense. So against Buffalo was the best. So you want to take that number, whatever. What did we say it was? It was like 1,800 total yards that they gave up, right? So the lower the total yards, right, that you get against your wide receivers is going to be the best team, facing the best amount of. The
lower the number, the worse it is for you.
Exactly. So if you're going up against teams, all of your teams added up is 20,000. And then the next team is 21,000. The next team is 22,000, 23,000, 24,000, whatever it is. All those numbers added up, right? That's how you figure out strength of schedule. It's not hard to do. So, I would check it out and just see if we're wrong. Just all you have to do is look at the top 7 weeks. Do those 7 weeks against any other team, and they have the roughest schedule. Their fucking schedule is crazy. It really is crazy. So, and the Browns are better this year. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Strength of schedule is from last year because we can't tabulate what they're going to do this year. We have no idea. But, when you look at the teams that they're going up against, they're going to be good teams. And, there's a couple of games that you can say they're going to get boat raced and they're going to be throwing the ball, a whole lot. Because the Browns, they're probably going to get boat raced. The Patriots, they're probably going to get boat raced. The Eagles, they're probably going to get boat raced. You know what I mean? So you could say Robbie Anderson is going to be in game scripts where he has to catch up and they're going to be throwing the ball. But those
you can't draft for that.
Exactly. And that's what we're trying to say.
You can't draft for what is it, the garbage time. You can't draft for garbage time.
Yeah.
That you're going to get left high and dry on that because you're drafting for basically teams that are going to suck and just have to throw the ball. I mean, that just puts you in a losing atmosphere right off the bat. Exactly. Like, you don't want to be in that. Don't draft for garbage time stats. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I do want to ask about Sam Darnold just as a player, not necessarily for fantasy, because I don't think he's really being drafted except maybe in 2 quarterback leagues. I think Sam Darnold has a world of talent. I think looking at that schedule, it's going to be tough for him to showcase that talent. But he's a guy that, going into his second year, if he can do, I don't want to say what Patrick Mahomes did because that's almost, irrepeatable, or unrepeatable, I guess. But if he's able to hit 75% of what Mahomes did last year, I mean, that dude could be a beast. But it's just the schedule. I mean, he has the talent, and he was a smart quarterback coming out of college. But like you said, the schedule's tough. How do you guys feel about Darnold as a player? Do you think he could break out this year? Do you think it's going to take another season? How do you guys feel?
No, I think he's going to be good this year. I mean, like you said, the first 7 games is rough. He's going to, but he's not going to throw for 0 yards. Like, that's the other thing. Like, when you're listening to fantasy advice, guys, realize that we're not saying these guys are going to give you zeros. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that their production is not going to be at the value of where you're drafting them, because you're drafting them, they're going to be 70 yard per week guys, and he's probably not going to get you 70 yards per week with Robbie Anderson, and Sam Darnold's probably not going to throw for 250 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns against those teams. He's just not. But when you get to the later schedule, Dolphins, Giants, Redskins, those teams, he's probably going to have big games. So at the end of the year, when you look at all the points, he's probably going to have, I definitely could see him having a top, 20 season, because like Kev said, for me, garbage time of all the positions helps the quarterback the most. Yeah, I mean, it helps the quarterback the most because the quarterback has to be throwing. And when you're only losing 2 points for interceptions, that's another thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're not worried about if your quarterback throws an interception, if he's going to throw for 350 yards because he has to keep airing the ball out. You know what I mean? And most of the time, and I know people think that the wide receivers benefit the most from garbage time. That's not true. It's normally the running backs, because what happens is
checkdowns.
Yeah, I mean, checkdowns. They're trying to get upfield to score. So normally there's a bunch of checkdowns. So and that's kind of why I feel like Le'Veon Bell could be, could end up being okay, in those first 7 games, better more than Robbie Anderson. But regardless, it's going to be the garbage time that helps Le'Veon if that's the case. So, Sam Darnold, I do like him. I think in Dynasty, if you can trade for him now. Because I think by the end of the year, people are going to see how good he is, and people are going to want him on their team.
Yeah, I like Darnold. I think he's out of the quarterback class that he came out of. Him, Josh Allen, probably. Obviously, everybody loves Baker Mayfield, and he's been, he's got the highest ceiling right now. But I think Darnold's got a good head on his shoulder. He showed unbelievable talent in college, so definitely a dynasty guy and somebody to keep an eye on moving forward. I don't think this year is going to be just, once again, the strength of schedule is really tough for him. But I think future he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in this league.
All right, so there you have it. That should be it for today's podcast. Remember, if you're listening, check us out on the website at www.fourthandinchesff.com. Is www.4thandinchesff.com for a bunch of content, articles, blogs, and the draft guide, player profiles, all that kinds of stuff. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating. Until next time, peace out, guys.
Peace.
See you next time.